Tomoharu gives the impression of a normal and unexceptional teenage boy, but deep within, he harbors immense grief and guilt over the death of his friend, Missile. For the past 3 years, he has been haunted by her ghost after he barely survived the tragic airplane accident that killed her. The ghost is a constant reminder of his weakness, his inability to save his friend, and his melancholic life. Before high school starts, he moves into a large mansion rented by his absent older brother. One of his brother's acquaintances comes by the mansion and is said to hand over a cryptic metal briefcase. She sees Missile but doesn't show any surprise by it. She leaves without giving any further explanation. That same night, a strange girl breaks into Tomo's bedroom and attacks him, demanding things called an Asura Machina and extractor. Helpless, Tomo has no idea what she's talking about but is saved when Missile tries to intervene. Upon seeing her ghostly figure, the girl flees. The next day, Tomo attends his first day of high school and runs into the mysterious girl, Kanade, who broke into his house the previous night. He confronts her, but she claims to have no idea who he is. He then goes to the science club where he meets Shuri, the one who gave him the briefcase. She incentivizes him to join the club as her assistant in exchange for explanations of the mysteries in his life, including why Missile's ghost haunts him. But he declines. Returning home, Tomo is greeted by a group of armed men. Their leader, Reiharu, demands for the extractor. Shuri comes to his rescue with Kanade's family backing her up. Immediately, a gunfight between the two groups breaks out, and bullets start to rain down on his house. He decides to put a stop to the violence by handing over the mysterious case. However, he is soon surrounded by the opposing parties, both sides asking for the case. Upon Shuri's instruction, he opens it, revealing an enormous robot called an Asura Machina. Rise Hero's group quickly withdraws after the Asura Machina makes its appearance. The next day, Tomo goes to his landlord to apologize for all the damage and runs into Kanade. She is making a run for it, but they catch up to her. Tomo falls and gets injured in the process. Kane patches him up and confesses that she can see Missile because she and her family are demons. She claims that Missile is a burial doll, the living spirit of a human sacrifice bound to an Asura Machina. The next day, Tomo is called to the student council room where he meets Reiharu, the same man who raided his house. Out of 3 student councils, he is the president of the first and also the Holy Defense Corps, an organization that aims to destroy demons. Reiharu invites Tomo to be a member. He reveals that he can also see Missile and shows him his own burial doll. He threatens to kill Tomo if he declines to join, since a handler or an Asura Machina wielder mingling with a demon like Kanade will bring mass destruction. At this moment, Kanade barges into the room to stop Rise Hero. He shoots her, but she catches the bullet with her hand and melts it. She then attacks the other men with her demon fire powers. Rise Hero's burial doll turns into a Machina called Hisui. Missile faces the Machina head-on to protect Tomo but disappears after being hit. He heeds Missile's last words and flees from the scene to retrieve the briefcase from his house. When he gets there, Shuri is already waiting for him. She tells him that Kane will be on trial and will be executed. He hurries back to interrupt Kanade's trial where Rise Hero has just sentenced her to hell. He tries to summon his Asura Machina by opening the case, but only a science club application form falls out. Tomo and Kanade manage to escape the room but soon meet a dead end again. Shuri is already waiting for them there. She asks them to join the club again. Faced with no choice, they agree and sign their names with blood. Satisfied, Shuri unleashes her weapons and attacks the men. Rise Hero lets them go free but warns them that the Holy Corps will strike back if they cross the line. One day, Tomo and Missile find an incapacitated Shuri with a briefcase outside the house. After she wakes up, she identifies herself as Yukari and behaves like a completely different person. The two investigate her house located at a church. There, they meet a girl named Yu who tells them that the church's priest is dead and his adopted daughter, Shuri, is the one maintaining it. Once they return home, a mini-robot attacks. Yukari senses Tomo is in danger. Kanade arrives at the scene to protect him, revealing himself to be the robot's owner, Mahua. From the second student council enters with a creature called Vivian and attacks Yukari. Vivian is a daughter, a child formed from the love contract between a human and a demon. Mahua knows that Yukari is Shuri, suffering from amnesia. He tries to recover the case that contains a stabilizer, a plug-in device for an Asura Machina that makes its burial doll visible to everyone. Shuri remembers who she is at the last minute, but Mahua nabs the case and leaves. Shuri prepares for a face-off against Yu, who got the stabilizer from Mahua. She tells Tomo and Kane about Yu, the handler of Shirogane, whose power can only be rivaled by Kirakane. When he arrives at the scene, Shuri unleashes multiple bullets at her. He was able to avoid them all by using Shirogane's ability, slicing through space. Tomo calls on Kurgan to face its might. His machine's first attempt is blocked by a strong field of light. Shirogane opens a portal to suck the stabilizer into it, but Kurgan splits the portal apart with sheer strength, bringing the stabilizer back. On impulse, Kurgan catches the stabilizer, causing it to be absorbed by her. He leaves, and Kurgan withdraws. Due to the stabilizer, Missile re-emerges, no longer a ghost but flesh and bone visible to everyone. The next day, she enrolls in Tomo's school as a new student. This adjustment to her new life makes many friends and spends less time with Tomo, who feels lonely by her absence for the first time in 3 years. With some help, Tomo uncovers Shuri's past from a magazine. Shuri had a younger twin sister named Yukari. However, 3 years ago, the plane they boarded crashed in the same accident that Tomo and Missile were in. Even though Shuri survived, Yukari's body was never found. Candid comes to Tomo's house to seek protection from a demon hunter on the loose. At the same time, a 10-year-old demon named Annie, a Fortuna, seeks refuge at his house. Upon the recommendation of Tomo's brother, Anya is a luck eater, a demon that takes or gives good fortune to others. Rise Hero suspects that Anya's sister, Christina, who went missing the last few months, is behind the demon hunts. The Holy Corps tries to capture the culprit. However, their magic is absorbed, and an Asura Machina is summoned, strengthened by the powers of the culprit's daughter. Amiya tries to run toward the enemies, demanding her missing sister, but is blown away by an oncoming attack. The Holy Corps is defeated, and the culprit gets away while Tomo and the others take Anya to a nearby hospital. Rise Hero tells them he wanted to prevent Candid from getting close to Tomo to avoid him from ending up the same way as the culprit, becoming an Asura Cryon, a human that has both the powers of a Machina and a demonic daughter. The next day, when Tomo is alone on the school grounds, he encounters a red-headed man. The man discloses that he knows Tomo and is also a handler like him and the culprit behind the demon hunts. The man invites him to join in his conquest, threatening to slay every demon in his school. Tomo refuses, and 2 chains immediately erupt from the ground to attack him. He is able to safely dodge but is faced off against the enemy's Machina and his daughter, cornering him. The daughter attacks him with smile tentacles. He barely avoids it by running away but is ultimately trapped. Candid comes to his aid and slices the tentacles with her fire blade. Tomo summons Kurgan, but before he can do anything, the evil Machina unleashes its chains, immobilizing Kurgan. Anya arrives at the scene but the daughter captures her, grows wings, and carries her and the enemy away. Tomo and the others go to a deserted apartment to search for clues. There, she finds a photograph of the red-haired man and Christina, Anya's sister. Shuri informs them that the man is named Kagakagari. Missile starts hearing a voice that guides her toward a map in the room. The map shows how the demon hunts are more serious than they had thought, a huge magical ritual that will consume the lives of all the demons in the city. They rush towards the Horizon Theater where the ritual is going to take place and find Anya captured. She screams for them to destroy the splitter, the big machine needed for the ritual. Shuri starts shooting missiles at it. Kagakagari's daughter drops Anya and engages in combat with Shuri. Anya seizes the opportunity and makes a run toward the splitter but is stopped by her sister. Kagakagari summons his Machina, and Tomo summons Kurgan at the same time. The enemy Machina launches its chain attack and freezes them in time, but to Kagakagari's surprise, Toru is able to nullify the magic as she is an ex-handler and breaks through the chains. Kagakagari activates his Asura Cryon power, boosting the strength of both his Machina and daughter. Just when everything seems to be lost, a series of thread-like structures emerge and wrap around the overpowered daughter. Chihara, a member of the group of handlers from another school called Guardian Dragoon, appears with her Machina. She takes down the daughter while Kurigan bashes the enemy Machina and blasts it, knocking it down. Kurigan moves to deal the final blow but stops when the already weak Christina appears to protect it. This takes a toll on her, and she falls unconscious into Kagakagari's arms. The battle ends, and Kagakagari asks Tomo why he doesn't use Ken 8's power to become an Asura Cryon, but Tomo replies that Ken 8 is not a tool to be exploited. Kagakagari escapes with Christina amidst the chaos of the theater collapsing. Anya informs them that Kagakagari was trying to use the splitter to extract the person bound to his machine, and he was willing to sacrifice anyone to achieve this goal. Sometime later, Tomo finds a cylindrical device in the club room, a plug-in device for an Asura Machina. Shuri warns Tomo that Kagakagari might appear to steal it, so they should be careful. Ken 8 asks Tomo to promise that no matter what, he will not fight or use Kurigan. He's confused but makes the promise nonetheless. The next day, Tomo and the others are making their way to school but are intercepted by Kagakagari. He demands them to hand over the plug-in device, calling it an igniter. Tomo refuses, and the enemy's daughter attacks. They manage to run towards Rika, the president of the Second Student Council, and ask for her help. Rika and Kagakagari summon their machinas and engage in battle. Kagakagari activates his Asura Cryon power, and attacks the group with chains. The chains land, and the entire group is blown back by the impact. The daughter advances, but Kanad, determined to not let Tomo down, uses her fire blade to retaliate. Tomo tells Kanad to step down, but she reminds him of the promise and pleads with him to not fight. The daughter launches a barrage of attacks at her. She tries to deflect but ends up getting hit. Seeing this, Tomo makes up his mind and calls forth Kurigan. It shoots an energy blast against the opponent's chains, but before they can engage in a proper fight, Toru of the Third Student Council arrives and turns the tide. Seeing he can't win, Kagakagari escapes. Kanad breaks down crying at her dismay at Tomo breaking his promise and runs off. That night, Rise Hiru's burial dolly suddenly appears in front of them, asking for help. The channel switches to an emergency news broadcast, and they find out that the plane containing all the second-year students who went on holiday, including Rise Hiru and Shuri, has vanished. Just then, Tomo gets a call from Kagakagari, demanding the igniter be handed over, or else all the people on the flight will be killed. Tomo follows the instructions, fearing for the lives of the hostages. He and Missile go to the pier to meet up with Kagakagari and spot Kanad. She tells them that she saw the news and followed them. Kagakagari's daughter carries them to the plane that's suspended in the air, frozen in time. She then snatches the igniter, handing it over to Kagakagari, and engulfs Tomo and Kanad. Kanad uses all of her energy to burst through the daughter's power and loses consciousness. After the villain orders his Machina to kill them, he is interrupted by the arrival of Presidents Toru and Ruin, riding on Mahua's daughter Vivian. Rika summons her Machina while Toru attacks them head-on with her sword. The enemy machine launches its chain attack and freezes them in time, but to Kagakagari's surprise, Toru is able to nullify the magic as she is an ex-handler and breaks through the chains. Kagakagari activates his trump card, the Asura Cryon power. The daughter hits Toru straight across the torso, flinging her off the plane. Rek counters, but her projectile is absorbed completely, rendered useless. Toru falls through the air when out of the blue, Shuri appears to save her, flying with a jetpack and unleashes missiles towards Kagakagari. The enemy Machina becomes weak, unable to hold the plane for longer and releases the chains around it, damaging its engine in the process. Kagakagari tells them it's their fault the people on the plane will die and promptly escapes. The others rush into the plane that's about to crash. Once inside, Rise Hero instructs Tomo to balance the plane's altitude with Kurigan. He proceeds to jump out of the plane with Shuri and her jetpack, intending to create a runway so that the plane can make an emergency landing on the ground. Rise Hero summons Hisui and successfully creates a runway made out of ice, wide and long enough to ensure the plane lands safely, saving everybody. Tomo runs up to the president to celebrate, but his joy is crushed when Rise Hero tells him how the Asura Machina actually eats away the soul bound to it bit by bit until at last, the soul will disappear. In creating the runway and saving everyone's lives, Hisui had used up all the energy that it had. Anya is now gone, though branded as an ex-handler. Rise Hero breaks into tears as he bids his friend goodbye. Tomo falls to his knees in grief, thinking how one day he might lose Missile. Watch